that thing away. You're going to get us all killed.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Game On Girl, the podcast where we talk about gender and game culture. I'm your host, Regina McMenemy.
And I'm your co-host, Rhonda Oglesby.
This is our first video podcast. How exciting is this? So here we are. Hi. And this is going to be a little shorter than our normal podcasts are. So let's go ahead and get started.
Since we're on video, why don't we do a show and tell? Regina?
I like that idea.
Yeah. This is my favorite geek memorabilia. I picked my Lois Lane, issue number 103, The Devil's Bride.
The Devil's Bride. Well, that sounds so...
evil.
Evil and dangerous.
Menacing and dangerous, yes.
Yes.
This is from 1970, and this is not my original copy. But this is the very first geeky thing, and especially the very first geeky comic book I remember ever having.
Really?
I don't know where it came from. I don't know how I got it. I have a feeling it came from one of my cousins. But the images are burned into my brain. I must have pored over this comic book over and over and over because it was, to me, it was just absolutely fascinating. And probably because it had a female protagonist. It was about Lois Lane, and the images I remember are all about her. Superman is in it. He's in at the beginning and at the very end, but he does not play a big role. The image that is most memorable to me is when she is getting ready to marry the devil, and she has to comb her hair between the horns that she is garnishing. And I remember being fascinated utterly and completely with that image.
With that image?
Yes, and with her getting ready for her wedding. The artwork is really beautiful. It's very iconic. It turns out that this is not the devil. I'm sorry. I know it's 1970, but these are spoilers.
We are spoiling a comic book from 1970. We're sorry, guys.
Yes. He is actually an alien, and he presents himself, I think, as the devil for some reason because that's a more acceptable form.
Huh.
Than an alien.
Okay,
than a green
so
alien.
The devil was more acceptable than an alien?
I think so.
Not sure I see the logic there.
I think Superman thought Lois Lane was dead, and the alien, I believe, helped perpetuate that and tricked her into coming with him, to his alien planet to marry him. And then she happened to see a ring that Superman gave her that told his undying love, and so she told him that she had to go back.
Oh.
But it's the scenes of her. It's all her in the middle. But yeah, that's my favorite piece. I found that one on eBay and ordered it. I was thrilled and couldn't believe I could find it. And it's in a floating frame that I will put on my wall and love to watch because that's Very nice. Birth of my geekdom.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that you didn't have it, but it made such an impression that you sought it out again.
Yeah, well, when I just got back into comic books about a year ago, and I got to thinking, listening to so many people talk about when they started reading and stuff like that, and it popped into my head. I was like, wow, that's the only one I can think of. But the images, when I sat down to read it, when I got it in the mail, my husband was sitting with me, and I was just overflowing. I was like, oh, yes, I remember this. I remember this is so vivid. So... That's pretty big.
That's awesome. That shows, exactly how important this kind of media can be, that you remember that many years later.
Yeah.
Seek it out again. That's cool.
Well, we're going to do a headline show today. Regina, why don't you get us started on our first headline, which I have a feeling most of our listeners have heard about.
Yes, I imagine that this hit everybody yesterday. I think it was yesterday that it was announced. So they have announced the cast for Star Wars Episode 7. So
Yes.
episode 7. So continuing on with the Star Wars saga and the story. As probably most people know, J.J. Abrams is directing and writing. So we'll see what kind of comes out of this. So there seemed to be quite a stir, wouldn't you say, Rhonda, on the internets? When this
Yeah,
came
I mean,
out?
that's where I saw it. Whenever I pulled it up, the headline was, what the hell?
Right, right.
Where are the women?
Yeah. What's going on? Why? So there's only one woman that's been cast so far.
Well,
So
two.
2 women.
Yeah, Carrie
Daisy,
Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Well, we can't really count her as cast, right? I mean,
Oh,
she kind
yeah,
of
she's in the
goes with the
cast.
package. How could they have done episode 7 without the original 3?
Yeah, well, exactly. But you definitely can't discount her unless you discount all three of the guys. Then
Yeah.
yes, there's only one new female character.
Okay, so there's one new female character, Daisy Ridley, has been
Well, that's the
cast.
actress name.
That's her
We have
actress, yes.
no idea who any of these people are playing
Right. We
yet.
don't have any of the characters. We don't have an idea about the story except little sort of guesses that we've had or little inklings. And as we've said, only one female member cast. So we actually had a listener send us an article about this, right? It was Carlo sent us. He's made sure we had a little heads up about this.
Oh yeah, but I had long tumbled it about. I'd
You've
already
been tumbling with it long before.
yeah. And I did a little bit more research on it today. Because I didn't read the books, and there really is no information about the story.
Right.
The only thing that they've said is it's 35 years after Return of the Jedi, which is why it makes it perfectly appropriate to have Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher come back. It's a
Right.
perfect age.
Right.
And apparently, the next trilogy, I guess it's 7, 8, 9, are going to cover 3 generations. So it will cover Luke's father, and it will cover Luke and then their kids.
Their kids. Okay. So
But
the
the
kind
thing
of
about
next
it
step.
is, someone tweeted later and they said, okay, but the one woman that's cast is the center of attention.
Right.
And I'm like,
Alex
I
Wallace said that.
yeah, I did some research today. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
There's not any information out there whatsoever about what this is going to be like. And do not see Star Wars as a type of story like Aliens, where Sigourney Weaver was the center of everything, because it's too epic. And I'm right now. It's too early. I'm not going to pass any judgment. There is only one woman cast so far, but they're really not revealing anything.
Right. Since we don't know characters and we don't know story necessarily, other than really broad strokes of this is the world we're going to be covering, and we're going to be covering this many generations of these characters. That doesn't really give us a whole lot to go on in terms of what's going to happen or why or how. How do you feel about J.J. Abrams? Are you feeling good about that decision, or what do you think?
I think it depends. I know that there's some people that loathe him forever, but there are others that. But I'm just in the okay camp. I don't care as long as they produce a good product. I know
Yeah,
there's some people that kind of think he's oh, I don't know, a dime store sci-fi kind of guy.
he's too lowbrow almost.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I'm fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like he's been picked out because he did the Star Trek reboot. I think he's been picked out as the guy to go to for that type of production where you're taking the existing characters and you're making a new. I think he's kind of getting pigeonholed into that. And I'm not sure. I like what he did with a lot of the Star Trek, but I don't know if that necessarily means he's going to do as good of a job with the Star Wars.
Well, I love the Star Trek reboot.
Yeah.
I think the Star Trek reboot was great. So I want him to have creative license. I want him to go for it.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. So, did you have an article for us to talk about as well?
Yeah, just a quick one. I do not know much about the Loveline radio show.
The radio show? Yeah. It's been around
Apparently,
forever, hasn't it? I mean,
yes,
like
it
forever.
has.
Okay.
But they offer medical advice and relationship advice. And there was a hoopla this week as one of their guests was Dr. Drew Pinsky. Yep, Dr. Drew Pinsky. And they had a caller call in whose fiance had several female maladies, including endometriosis, and he kind of blew it off. I went back and listened to the radio show, listened to this segment, and read some things about the context. And to me, it just supports my opinion completely that you should not listen to opinion shows, advice shows, anything that's got a doctor, a judge, whatever. The human body is way too freaking complicated for that. And endometriosis is especially.
Right.
But his comments to me are archaic.
Yeah, it's so utterly dismissive. It's hard to kind of stomach reading. I didn't listen to it. I just read the article. I couldn't imagine going on and listening to him actually say the words that he said.
Well, it was important to me to hear his intonations and his tone, and to hear the context of the question and everything. And because the article, I just didn't want to take their opinion on it, but they were severely dismissive.
Yeah.
Very flippant. And I just think that he could have been so much more professional. And my thing is, I don't listen to people on TV or on radio anyway, anything that's doing maybe a gardening show. I listen to that advice.
The home improvement shows, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the reality for this kind of show always hit me with, do you remember Dr. Laura? Do you remember when she was big?
Yep.
She had a doctorate of education. And she was giving like relationship and family and life advice as if she was a psychologist. And it was never like she didn't like say it's a doctorate of education. It was listed on her bio, wherever that was. But as soon as that was like, oh, okay, well, I can take my doctorate, I have the title of doctor. I would never go on to a radio show and try to put myself off as being a psychologist or being an expert in that kind of a field. But so to do that and to make your whole life and your whole show about something that was essentially a lie was just always, it just put that whole genre for me in like, okay, whatever, this is not.
Well, everybody remember, it's marketing.
Right. It is. It is. And this gets attention. I mean, this gets attention, even if it's bad attention.
They are making shows to get viewers to make money.
Right.
And this, although is a live radio show, call-in show, was careless and just very, very flippant.
Right.
There's no way to give medical advice in, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Not a soundbite.
Well, we're going to take a break. For you guys that listen to us on the audio, we are doing 2 15-minute segments. So we're going to take a break now, but come right back. We're going to talk about music videos and pants at the prom and Regina's memorabilia. So stay tuned.